Well, Whiskey Corner people, it's February, I do believe. Now I've got a glass of whiskey. I'm just polishing off a little bit of Queen Margot. I think that's how you pronounce it. Beautiful whiskey, 40%. It's one of those supermarket... let me just turn this down a little. One of those supermarket whiskies that cuts the mark. And I'm going to drop an ice cube in. There's a little bit of ice here. There we go, one ice cube for the whiskey, whilst we talk about developments. Now, I've got a whiskey this evening, and I'm not looking forward to it, and I know it's going to be terrible, but out of morbid curiosity, one must try. Because I stood in the co-op looking at their whiskey selection, which, if I'm being quite honest with you, is not the best in the world. In fact, it's one step up from Bargain Booze, and that's the epitome of a whiskey collection, in my opinion. But anyway, I stood there and I saw next to the bottle of Bell's, which was labelled at £9, a bottle of blended Scotch whiskey, and that's all it says. Aged 3 years, and with a co-op label on it. Now, it was nearly £2, in between £1.50 and £2 cheaper than the Bowls. And for anyone who knows whiskey knows that that's not good in itself, but it must be tried. But first, we must have something a little bit better. I was looking for some classical music on me TV, but this seems a little bit down-putty. Let's find something a little bit better. Let's find Skyrim's 10th anniversary. Something a bit different, isn't it? Let's have a look at that. I don't know whether I'll like this or not for this kind of video. But anyway, yeah, so I've got, I was going to drink it last weekend, but I just didn't get a chance. But we've got to battle through and try all these different whiskies. And bit of good news. I've found the fish. So I can top the fish up with the I think it's called Kilcoman, it's down there somewhere. I can put this in the fish, ready for a night out, you know. And when you're in the pub, you can just sneak outside and have a quick tip up, you know what I mean? They want to mind. Bit of Skyrim music on for those people who don't know what Skyrim is. It's, well, you should do if you've been living on planet Earth for the last 10 to 12 years. But, yeah, we're coming out of winter now, which is a blessing, because I'm sick and tired of drizzly, cold, windy days. I want some nice warm days to cool down with a glass of single malt. I have visited an old friend of mine tonight, Special Brew, shadow of its former self, as it's now been weakened by government regulation. I believe it was something to do with trying to tackle alcoholism, so it doesn't do anything of the sort. It just means you've got to buy more. But we won't get into that topic today. Anyway, so the Queen Margot you can get from Lidl. Wonderful little drink. There's two whiskies I recommend from there. The Ben Brecken, the Queen Margot, both, in my opinion, equally good. I believe the Ben Brecken, though, is a malt, not a blend, and you've got geographical. You've got whiskies for different parts of Scotland, so geographical differences there. So you get islands, you can get your Speyside, and I'm not sure if you can get another one. I know there's definitely them too. But you're looking to spend in between £16 to £18, I think, for them. The Queen Margot is a little bit cheaper, if I remember correctly. But they're both good. They're both worth a try, even though that's a blend, but still. I'm quite happy with it. You can't beat the Island Black from Aldi. That's obviously... I've got a bottle of that down there. That's really good for its money. I mean, last time I bought one, it wasn't more than £13. It was probably £12 something. But anyway, we've got this this bottle down here, which I'll show you the bottle. Look at that. You know what that says? Unemployed and homeless. That's what that's got written all over it. So, let's have a little read. Blended Scotch whisky, ingredients: water, Scotch whisky, grain, spirit, malt whisky, colour, plain, caramel, cleared using filtration suitable for vegetarians and vegans. Distilled and bottled in Scotland, so it is a product of Scotland. So that big UK label on the back, there you go. 14 alcoholic units in this bottle, for anyone who worries about the unit situation. Blend of Scotch whiskies matured in oak casks for a fuller flavour. Something tells me it's going to have a very full flavour on it, but not the one we like. Distilled, matured and bottled in Scotland. Distilled, matured, bottled in Scotland, yeah. So, obviously it hasn't got a cork, it's just got a metal cap on the top. But then again, so's the Queen Margot. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be rubbish. It just means that, obviously, it's on the cheap. But there's always those cheap whiskies that do just creep through the net, you know. That's what I like talking about. Also like talking about the expensive ones as well, if I can get my mitts on them. Now, possibly tomorrow you'll get another Whiskey Corner with Danny. I believe he wants to return to Whiskey Corner and do a little video. So we'll have to get another whiskey in for that. So that means you'll be having double bubble. Now then, do I take that ice cube and give that a little bit of a watering down, or do I go in for the kill? So we might as well go in for the kill, hadn't we? At the end of the day, it's nothing special. I saw it and I was, like I said earlier on, I got morbid curiosity of, will it be any good? And I know it won't be any good. It's probably going to be even worse than Bell's. And that is the epitome of drinking. Not too much on the nose there. Now, as I've said before, whilst I'm shooting these on my own, it's very difficult to do things when I've only got two hands. So I've just put a little bit in the glass. Now, I put my nose by the edge of the bottle and I didn't get a lot of flavour from that. So let's go. It's got that Bell's twang to it. Already a notable difference from the Queen Margot. The Queen Margot, let me have a sniff of this. Right, the Queen Margot. Much better on the nose. I know I didn't get much from the bottle, but I've just got plenty from the glass. And I don't like it. That is awful. That is really, really bad. Now, Bell's isn't actually the worst whiskey I've ever tasted. The worst whiskey I've ever tasted was a whiskey called Glenturner. And whoever made that wants shooting. Because, oh my God, that was an absolute car crash of a drink. It was so bad we ended up tipping it down a grade in Hanley. And what more can you say when you've got to tip your whiskey down a grade? It was awful. Rennie's, I needed Rennie's for a week after drinking that. But this is going to be just as bad. I fear that it's going to be worse than Bell's. And Glenturner was worse than Bell's. We always on about Bell's, but Glenturner was actually the worst. But here we go for your viewing pleasure. Oh. I had a really small amount of that then. And it dissipated on my tongue and sort of went underneath my tongue. And for the small bit that entered my mouth, I felt it throughout my mouth. All of my mouth. I call it like a sort of the beginning, the middle, the end. The beginning and the middle all felt that. Even though it only touched the beginning of my mouth. It sort of like rippled through. Terrible taste. Let's go again. It's got a very unpleasing taste on the palate, but as it gets further back it becomes more acceptable. So I've yeah, the worst bit is the first bit of that whiskey. It sort of pollutes the front end and the middle of your mouth, and as it gets to the back, it then obviously the horribleness dissipates and goes. Now I'm gonna have to try it again, so I can get. I'm gonna have to have a big gulp this time, so I can get a bit down my throat, because last time I didn't actually feel any afterburn, which is a positive for it, a very big positive, because it doesn't, like, obviously it doesn't hit the mark in any other areas, but let's see. We'll have another taste to see where it's got its strengths and weaknesses. And definitely its flavour is a weakness. Its beginnings is a weakness. And it ended on a slightly higher note. So here we go again. Oh. Now, obviously, a very inferior whiskey to some of the others that I drink. But I've got to give credit where credit's due. It hasn't burnt me throat out. And I did think that would happen. So, although it's got all the ingredients of a broken home and a smashed window, it hasn't required Rennie's on tap. It tastes like a bonfire. If you could put a bonfire into taste. but it's not burnt me throat out. So, in that respect, I think it surpasses Bell's, and it isn't as bad as Glen, but it isn't good by any standards. But maybe tomorrow, if my friend decides to have a wee dram, he can try it and tell you what he thinks as well. But that is my take on the situation. And it definitely won't be going in the fish. That is for sure. I've got another whiskey planned for that. The Kilcoman. That's going in the fish. Now, that has got some complex flavours going on. So, even though that might have, you might have a battle on your hands with that, at least you've got complex flavours. Whereas these cheap whiskies don't offer you that so much. Definitely, there's a little bottle of Bell's down here, actually. I'm not drinking it, but it's there. Look at it. It's an insult. But anyway, I've tried the Co-op's version of Cheap and Cheerful. And if I'm giving it an honest review, I will have to say it is just a wee little bit better than Bell's. And it's slightly cheaper. So that might up it the ladder even further. You decide that if you buy it. It's there. Like I said, I think that's quite expensive for what it was. I mean, it was £7 something, like £7.40 or £7.20 or whatever. Bell's was £9. I've got a little bit left in the glass, so I'll have just another swig of it. See, I tried to gulp that down, and still no afterburn. Some whiskies will burn your throat out. But anyway, that's that. Hope you've enjoyed. And must carry on working my way through these half-drunken bottles I've got. Anyway, possibly tomorrow, I will be back. Be seeing you.